at some of the AutoCAD map features and some of the Civil 3D geolocation tools and how can we use this in our day-to-day. So as we're working through the AutoCAD map routines and the Civil 3D geolocations, things of that nature, it's very important that we have our environment set up properly. So we're going to start off with the ENA DWT template. We're also going to set the coordinate system that we're going to use, and we're going to use a projection. So we're going to use Douglas County projection. We're not going to use a state plane modified coordinate system. We're going to use an actual projection. And then we're going to use the geolocation map image. We're going to bring that in, and we're going to start laying information on top of that. So very important to have the environment set up properly. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start with the new DWT file. So go up to the application icon, create the new file using our standard DWT. So it'll be the Civil 3D design. Hit open. And the next thing we'll do here is we'll go back up to the drawing utilities, go to the drawing settings. And inside the drawing settings, we're going to look at some of the projections that we have set up for the state of Nebraska. So using the category of USA Nebraska, we can drop down the available coordinate systems. And so what we've done here at ENA is we've added all the different counties for Nebraska. You can see Red Willow, Platte, Polk, things of that nature. What we want to do here is we're going to work within Douglas County. So I'm going to type in D for Douglas County. And what we'll do is we'll pick out the Douglas County projection that we are going to need. So once we have that, we can go ahead and hit apply, hit OK. Then the next step is what I want to do here is I want to go back up to my work space here, and I'm going to change that to planning and analysis. And then once inside the planning and analysis, I'm going to go to the geolocation. And then what I can do here is I can turn on an area. Let's do a hybrid, so it'll be like a road map and an aerial. And it's asking if you want to use the online data. We're going to say yes. So with the hybrid aerial map in place, we will navigate to the location that we will be working in. A little side note to this, you will need to have a account set up with Autodesk, and basically you will sign in, and so that allows you to use the geolocation maps and that sort of thing. So make sure you go to the Autodesk, set up the account, and sign in, and then you should be able to do what we're doing here. If you don't see that or know how to get to that, please let me know. Bob, Florence, or I will be able to assist you with that. Okay, this next step we're going to use AutoCAD map to attach to drawings that have shapefile information embedded into them. The shapefile information that we're speaking of right now is break lines, parcels, FEMA, floodplain lines, things of that nature. So what we'll do is use AutoCAD map to attach to those drawings, query those drawings to the area that we're working in, and be able to use those in our current drawings for preliminary plat layouts, things of that nature. So at this point we'll move from the geolocation tab over to the view tab. And inside the view tab, what we're going to do here is go to map task pane. And with the map task pane, what we'll need to do is go to the map explorer, right click here under current drawing, and what we're going to do is attach a drawing. So right now you're looking at the select drawings to attach, and what we want to do is we're going to go out to the L drive. So we're going to go ahead and drop this down. If you have not used this before, you won't have the L drive to search from. So what we want to do here is we want to create an alias so that we can use the L drive. So basically right here on this little icon here, this command, create alias or edit. So what we're going to do is pick on that. What we want to do is distinguish the drive letter or select the drive letter, and then we're going to browse out to the L drive. So what we're going to do here is come back out and look for the different drives that we have here. So here's the L drive, and what we'll do here is select that, hit OK, and then add it to the list. And if we hit close, now we have that drive letter available to us. So we can go ahead and pick on the L drive. And now we're starting to get into the area where we've got some drawings stored for these particular purposes. So what we want to do here from this point is go to the ArcMap data. And so we highlight that, select that. Then we want to go to the AutoCAD Maps folder. And inside the AutoCAD Maps folder, we've got some drawings that are set aside for this purpose. Now, what we're looking at here is like Douglas County break lines. We got Douglas County FEMA, Douglas County parcels, that sort of thing. If we need more of these drawings available to us, let Bob Florence or I know about this, and we can create these drawings. So with that being said, let's go ahead and select the FEMA. So we're going to go Douglas County FEMA. So what we'll do here is we'll select it. We'll tell it to add the drawing. We'll hit OK. Now once the drawing has been added to the Map Explorer, what we'll do is we'll run a query on that. Alright, so we've got the L drive. We can see that we've got our drawing attached. We got Douglas County FEMA. So what we want to do is we want to run a query. So in order to do that, what we want to do here is we want to create a category. So still inside the Map Explorer, query library, right click on that, create a new category. What I like about this is it allows me to keep the data kind of organized better. So I can, for my new category here, I can type in FEMA. And as I bring in more queries and whatnot, I can query different drawings, and then I can organize these into those categories. So with that being said, now we can go ahead and right click on FEMA, and we can go ahead and define this query. So how do we want to define it? Well, let's do a location. And what we'll do here is we'll do a window with crossing, and then it allows us to say define, and then we can go into the drawing area and then window around the area that we're trying to work within. And at this point, I'm going to tell it to draw the information. I'm going to execute the query, and you can see that we've got some flood or FEMA map information up in this area here around the Papillion Creek area. So it didn't quite get the whole area, but basically this is where FEMA has some definition for flood control, floodplain elevations, that sort of thing. So now the next thing we can do here is we can go in and maybe bring in some of the parcels for in and around this area. So the same thing goes. Map Explorer, we come back up to the drawings, we're going to attach a new drawing. And what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and choose the Douglas County parcels. We'll go ahead and tell it to add that. We'll hit OK. All right, so now we've got our next drawing added. So this is the Douglas County parcels. So again, we'll go back to the query library. We'll create a new category. We'll just call this parcels. And then we will define, and what we'll do here is we'll use the same location. We should be able to hit execute query. Now it's processing the data that we wanted. Now you can see that we've got the parcels in and around that area that we were wanting to work in. Now these parcels and the FEMA maps have data associated with the graphics. So we can tell that by basically selecting one of the parcels here. If you go to the properties dialog box, you'll be able to see down here, here's the lot number, here's some of the areas and the length of the entire parcel. If you go to the FEMA stuff, you can FEMA line, I guess, which we'd like to say, we can look at that as well. So here we have the flood zone boundary, and it tells you some information based on that. And you can see that you've got sections and different things in here as well. So if we look at that, go to the properties on that, you'll be able to see that you've got elevation information there as well. So you can build maybe a surface off that elevation data, things of that nature. So now at this point, we're looking at the parcels, but maybe that lot we just highlighted, right? And we looked at that data. Maybe we want to associate that lot number with that particular lot, so we don't have to sit there and guess or look around and see what that particular lot number is. So what we could do there is we can come back to that query and we'll go ahead and redefine that somewhat. So what we want to do here is we want to come over here to this alter properties, and then what we'll do here is we'll go up to this text box here, and we'll go in and go to the expression area. And then inside that expression area, we can go ahead and go down to the object data, and then here's our Douglas County parcel information. There's the lot info or data on that. So what we can do here is we can hit OK. And then here we can go ahead and adjust the layer, things of that nature. So what we'll do here is for the text height, maybe that's what do we want to do here? 12, let's say, for example. And then we will go to the layer. What layer do we want that to be on? I'm going to put it on G-Ano text for right now. And then we can change the style here. So we're going to go Arial narrow. So that's fine. If you wanted to change it, you could change it. If we hit OK, then that's added to the properties here, the current properties. If we hit OK, now we should be able to do the execute query once more. And now you can see that you have lot information there for you so that you can visually see that and work with that. Again, so now we can come in here, you can look at that. That's able to be moved around, things of that nature. So if we list this once again, so this is a lot, we're picking that up. Go to the properties, let's make sure that, hey, that's lot 93. Now all this data has been driven from the Douglas County parcels that we have available through ArcMap. So again, if you want more information on these, one has said something about maybe address information, things of that nature, for like maybe roadway construction, things of that. We can go ahead and add that to that drawing that we're using to produce these parcels inside this drawing, this current drawing. So anyhow, if you need more information there, let us know. We'll be glad to add more data. Okay, this next section we're going to build off of the brake lines and the Lidar surface. So we're going to use AutoCAD map to bring in the map of brake lines. And then we're going to switch from AutoCAD map and we're going to go back to the Civil 3D, create a point cloud, and then we're going to create the surface from the cloud and the brake lines. That way we get the best surface possible. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with some of the brake line data for Lidar. So what we're going to do is we're going to work inside this area here. So what I want to do here is I'm going to freeze the parcels that we brought in earlier. Then we're going to go back up into this area here. Basically the map explorer once again. And what we're going to do is we're going to add another drawing. So I'm going to right click on that, hit attach. We'll come back up and find the Douglas County brake lines. So we'll go ahead and add that to the as a selected drawing. We'll hit OK. Now you can see that we've got the brake lines, Douglas County brake lines, in the drawing as an attachment. So now we can go back into our query library, create the new category, and we'll call this brake lines. And we'll go ahead and define the area. So again, we'll use the same query location. What we'll want to do here is we'll just hit execute query. Alright, now we've got brake lines in the drawing. So you can see here, if we highlight that brake line and we right click on it and we go to the properties, we should be able to see elevations and different things of that nature. So at this point we can go in and start looking at the Lidar, create a point cloud for this area, and then we'll create our existing surface. So to do that, what we'll do is switch from the planning analysis work group back to the Civil 3D. And inside the Civil 3D work group, we're going to be working with the tool space. And on the Prospector tab, tool space, we're going to be working with these point clouds. So we're going to create a point cloud. But before we can do that, we need to know what area of point cloud data we're working in or need. So in order to do that, there's a couple things that we have to be aware of. So inside of the L drive ArcMap data, MAPA, Douglas County DTM, there's these bare earth, Lidar, the LAS files. We need to find out what area we're working in. So these are set up by numbers. So in order to do that, if we come back to the image directory and select MAPA image April 2007. So what we can do here is go to the Douglas County 2007 Douglas County photo grid 6-inch. And basically what we're looking at here is a roadmap to the images that we want to look at, or for this case, the LiDAR images, or LiDAR. So we know we're working with in and around Dodge Street, and here's 204th, and here's 180th. So I think we're right in this area here where we're trying to get the information for our surface. So I'm going to go ahead and commit this to memory, 2680, 5450. So with that in mind, we can come back to the point clouds area. We'll right click on this. We're going to create a point cloud. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and accept the default name and the style. That's fine. And then right here is what we want to do is we want to create a new point cloud database. So it's the LAS format is what we're using. And so how do we add the data that we want here? So pick on that plus sign. This allows us to browse out to that location we looked at earlier in File Explorer. So I'm going to go to the imagery. I'm going to double click on my ArcMap data, and we're going to go down to MAPA and Douglas County DTM, or Douglas DTM. And then we're going to go to the bare earth, LAS. Now this is where we go to find that number. And so we were looking for 2680, so here's 2620, so I scroll down, 2680, now we're going to go 5450. So that's the data I need for my cloud. So at this point, let's hit open. And now what it's doing is it's going to add that to the database area here, so it'll show us the file and the format and so on and so forth. Notice at the bottom you can see here it's specifying where it's going to save that cloud. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind, because when we're done creating our surface and things like that, we may, and I always typically get rid of that cloud because the data is so such a large amount of data. I want to get rid of it. I don't need to keep duplicating this all over the file server. The next thing we want to look at here is the point cloud database coordinate system, and then this is the current drawing coordinate system. Keep in mind, MAPA is always a state plane coordinate system. So what we need to do here is we need to tell it what the cloud database coordinate system is. So if we know it's state plane coordinate system, we need to make that change. So let's go ahead and make that change here by selecting the little icon here. And now we can tell it what coordinate system the cloud database is in. So that's going to be Douglas, or not Douglas County, but U.S. Nebraska, and we're looking for the state plane coordinate system. So that's going to be NAD 83, Nebraska state plane, U.S. feet. So once we have that, we hit OK. And so now take a look at this. So it's telling us what the point cloud is. So it's NAD 83, U.S. feet, state plane coordinate system, Nebraska. And then our current coordinate system for our drawing is Douglas County. So what's going to happen here is it's going to take the cloud from this location or this coordinate system, and it's going to transform that into this coordinate system. So in order to do that, we'll hit next. Gives us some of the basic information. We'll hit finish, and then we wait for it to populate. And as we're waiting for that, you'll see down here there's a little icon that's being driven down here, basically telling us that it's doing the stuff in the background so we can continue to work with our drawing and do other things while it's producing this in the background. So at this point, you can see the cloud has been brought into the drawing, and it lines up with the brake line information that we've established. So at this point, what we'll do is we'll kind of clean up the brake lines that aren't needed in and around this area, and then we'll create a surface from the point clouds and the brake lines. So at this point, it's all cleaned up. We're ready to make the surface. So what we can do here is we can select that cloud, and then the contextual tab, it tells you what cloud you're working with. You can adjust the cloud in a sense of how many points it's going to use. Typically, I'll go about 50%. And then what we want to do here is we want to tell it to add points to surface. So select on that. It'll bring up a dialog box where we can add the points to the new surface. So it'll tell it what the surface we want to create. So we'll just call this existing grade. Give it the description. We'll use the style here. Maybe we'll show this is 2s and 10s existing, and we'll hit next. And then we can tell it what we want to use for the cloud, or I'm sorry, for the surface. Do we want to use the extents, a window, polygon, an object? We'll just use the entire extents of the actual cloud. So we'll hit next, and we'll tell it to finish. Now at this point we've got some contours in there. We still need to add our brake lines. So what we'll do there is we'll go back up to the home, actually tool space, open that up, and we'll go to this new surface that we've created, and we will go to the definitions, and what we're going to do here is we're going to add some brake lines. We'll right click on that and say add. And maybe before we do that, maybe we can isolate that so it'll make it a little easier for us. So what we'll do here is go back up to the isolate commands on the home tab, and let's go find one of those one of the map of brake lines, and then we can zoom out. That way we're just dealing with that layer. We'll go ahead and say add, call these brake lines mappa. A window around the area. You can see that we've got them highlighted. We'll hit return. Now that adds it to the brake line folder, so we've got more data in there. So at this point, let's unisolate our layers, get our surface back visually. Now we've got the entire brake line points, so we've got the best surface we can make using the Lidar. So at this point, you can go ahead and shortcut this out, data shortcut it, reference it into other drawings, that sort of thing. If you need to apply a drawing scale for, let's say if you're not working in a projection, you're working in a modified state plane coordinate system, the recommendation would be to land XML out this surface, start your new drawing, land XML in the surface to the new drawing, and then you can go in and scale that surface, and then I'll put it in one of the edit commands down here. You'll see in the edits area here, you'll see that there's a scale factor applied to this particular surface to get it into that modified state plane coordinate system. So that's what we have for today. If you have questions, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to help. Thank you so much.